to hide my dragon like I'm Hagrid. I fight my battles, cloak and dagger. No open casket for the bastards who play with magic. Chain reactions I manufactured under your noses. You didn't notice. You wouldn't notice. Giving the cold shoulder, we living in the moment. Called a Horus, certain deity talking to me, and I notice we're just not alone.
So I did save this one. Here's how the Clinton campaign spied on Trump in the White House. Daily Wire. Familiar with Daily Wire?
By the name, but not much content-wise.
You know Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
That's his network. No idea who this is.
You know this guy, Jordan Peterson?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm very familiar with Jordan.
What are your thoughts on him, briefly?
I think he's not a great guy. I think he's very disingenuous. And at this point, I think he's a little deranged, to be honest. Did you watch his Joe Rogan podcast recently?
I saw a clip of it, but I have not watched the whole thing. I've seen a lot of his Jordan Peterson's content, but I haven't gone through his full lectures or anything or like looked into any of his books. But I agree with you. I think on both the things you said about him. I think the deranged part is almost more of it. Where I think at this point, I think he says a lot of very truthful and factual things that can come off a certain way.
You should.
But I think a lot of it's based around him being like pretentious about it, which is part of like what he might be trying to tell people to, stay away from, like those sorts of traits and things. So I don't know. To me, it's almost like I don't know what the word I want to use, but I don't know.
Grift.
Sometimes I enjoy just hearing what he says, just because it makes me think of it a different way, and then other times I'm like, kind of just sound crazy.
There was like when I was probably back in like 2016, and I was like a big Joe Rogan podcast fan. And the first time I heard Jordan Peterson on there, I was like, wow, this guy's like kind of crazy. He's got some pretty profound insights. And then like he was getting a lot of criticism, and at first I did kind of fall in the camp of like, oh, that's just, they're just trying to silence a guy who's thinking outside the box. Yep. But then I actually kind of started to listen to some of the criticism, and then I started to look into it more, and then I kind of saw more clips that put into more context his overall, like, what his project is what I always like to say on this show. It's like people can say a lot of different things, but they do always have like a project. They always have, in their own mind, they have a goal, like what they're trying to do when they're in front of a camera. Yeah. And I don't really like what I think he's trying to do. I think he definitely feeds into a lot of like incel ideology. I think he's definitely a gateway to like right wing thinking overall, and that was more apparent than ever in the Joe Rogan podcast, where he went like full Bible Belt conservative.
Oh, he did? Wow.
Yeah, he never really revealed that before. He always got weird when people asked him about like, is he a Christian, or what does he actually believe in? He would always be like, well, I operate under the assumption that...
Wow, bravo. That was...
Well, you see...
That's good. Wow.
As you can tell, I've watched a lot of them. That's
yeah. I've just seen a lot of content recently, so it's like fresh in my head. A lot of it based around like gender equality and like, the trans right and things like that, where I think he does a very good job of speaking to it like in its most literal form. It's just still so hard for people to accept that and like really, actually think about it that way. So it can go back and forth, but he's an interesting guy.
I think, what I started to realize is like the good things he was saying, especially with like the self-help stuff, like the 12 rules for life, like a lot of that stuff is like pretty generic. Like the good stuff is pretty generic self-help stuff. Like if you're depressed, like doing menial tasks around your house and stuff is actually a good way to get yourself moving. Like if you just get up and do if you're feeling really down, even if you just want to sleep, go do the dishes, go clean up your room. And that that's fine, but then again, it's like you can say a lot of different stuff. Some of it's gonna be good, some of it's gonna be bad. But what are you pushing towards? And that's where he lost me.
Yeah, I think what he's pushing towards is not quite what he's portraying. Yeah, I guess. Now I forget if we touched on this too, but I mean, there's a lot of criticism on Joe Rogan just with some of the podcasts that are coming up and everything. And you said, at one point you were, I don't know if it was you just enjoyed the content he put out or if you liked Joe Rogan. When you said you were like listening to him, I think it was like 2016.
I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Joe Rogan. I don't mind saying that.
Have your thoughts changed? Like,
I was still defending Rogan really up until like 2020. That's when he really just started to fucking lose me. Actually, it was like right around the time he signed the Spotify deal, to be honest.
Because he's on the deranged side too, where it's like now you're getting so extreme that it's hard to keep up.
Well, it's the project thing. It's like he'll have someone like Sanjay Gupta on, who I would agree with mostly, and he grills the dude. And Sanjay definitely did not hold up well. But then he has these right-wing grifter nut jobs, snake oil salesmen, and he's like, oh yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay, well, like the reason I like Joe Rogan is I really thought he was somebody I thought his project was like, yeah, I'm just gonna have interesting people on. I'm gonna push back on the things I believe in, and like I actually kind of thought he believed in some good things. I mean, he was like a pro Medicare for all guy. He was like fairly liberal on a lot of things, and the things that he wasn't like left on, I was actually probably in agreement with him too. Like I'm pro Second Amendment and shit like that. And that's somewhere we probably have some overlap. But yeah, it feels like in the past like 2 years, and really probably I could say 3, except I was even defending him in that first year still. It just seems like he's really slipped into it's like his project has shifted to I'm gonna barely platform people who oppose me or oppose a certain point of view, and then I'm gonna very graciously platform a lot of people who have rightfully been pushed out of a lot of other mainstream platforms because they've been proven to be dishonest and harmful even sometimes. And he just has them on and just like glorifies
now
them.
For him to get more of a reaction, or is he just now moving towards the side of actually agreeing with these, far out people?
That's where I don't know. I don't know. It could be a lot of things. My personal conspiracy theory is that Spotify is actually like in on it, and they paid him this dumb amount of money to be like, no, we want you to, Tucker Carlson is currently the most popular broadcaster in America. We want a slice of that pie. We'll take some hits for it, and we can like probably actually drum up a lot of advertising and controversy about it. But at the end of the day, we're behind you, and we want you to go this direction. Because it serves their interest. That's what, conservatism is all about, serving power. It's all about like, the system as it is what we need, and the system defines who's rightfully at the top, all the way up till God and all the way down to
the biggest thing for me is just how climate is everything. It's like, well, everything's everything.
That's just not even a good. There are good anti-climate change arguments. There are like effective ones out there. I think Ben Shapiro's is the most effective. They're like, oh yeah, climate change is real. There's just nothing we can do about it, so we shouldn't, change anything. Like that's like okay, how do you really defeat that? Especially when he is kind of right. Like it'll, fighting climate change is going to have economic disruption. That's just a reality. But
does he more post something like that just to allow for conversation, or is 99% what he's like? Is that his straight up belief? Like for Ben Shapiro as a person?
Ben Shapiro, it's hard for me to say with Ben Shapiro because he does make probably some of the stronger arguments I ever hear on the conservative side, which almost leads me to believe that he has just intellectualized his ideology so deeply that he fully believes all the things. I guess what I mean is like a lot of the times his, to use the official term, his axioms are grounded, like he is pretty like on par with his own propositions, I guess is the word, you know, and so that makes it harder to apply the word grifter that I very liberally apply across most conservative commentators.
Just watched the community grifting episode.
Yeah. So you know, it with Ben Shapiro, I can't really tell. I think he does know sometimes he's full of shit, and I think he knows he has.
Yeah.
I think he has again. He has a project that he does fully believe in. That he knows he sometimes has to like appeal to a certain audience or like, you know, kind of fib or make some dishonest statements, but he feels that it's in service of his honest intentions. So maybe that's how he kind of rationalizes it. But like, I don't think he's just purely like some people's projects. I just want to make money. I just want like, I want to trick as many dumb people as I can into paying me money to say things that they like to hear.
Have you read any of this guy's books?
I've read clips. I didn't want to buy it. I do think that's pretty funny though. 12 rules for life and then 12 more rules for life.
No, there's
I
actually
thought that
12
was it,
more.
dude. Yeah, I thought, like
Now I gotta keep track of 24. Like, yeah, I can't do that, man.
you're asking too much, Jordan.
And then the next one's like 12 rules to handle the previous 24.
Yeah. No, the next book's actually there are 8 rules, and it's these ones by this book.
Oh shit, I messed up. You learn too much.
Oh shit. But yeah, no, I had this video saved. I never actually got around to watching it, and I figured since we were talking about Jordan, this could be interesting. Do you know who Sam Harris is?
Maybe I'd recognize him by face, but maybe not off.
He's fairly obscure, so there's a whole history to debate on the internet and YouTube, and a lot of it has origins in atheist debate bros in like the mid 2000s on like Reddit and shit, and they all got really popular preaching like a very kind of mean version of atheism. Like
what do you mean by that?
like they just like they kind of started the like epic own compilations, like atheist epically owns dumb fuck Christian.
Oh, okay. Bones this noob.
Yeah, this fucking idiot. So Sam Harris was definitely kind of in that group. He was like probably one of the more intellectual and maybe I would even say nicer. You know, he wasn't as edgy as some of the other ones. But what
wasn't it was and is an atheist?
Yeah, but he's like he's also like a professor, I believe, or he taught at a college. He teaches like philosophy or something like that. I don't remember, but what happened around, I think it was 2014, 2015, there was a thing called Gamergate. Have you heard of that?
No.
I won't get into it too much, but it was a big like controversy online around like misogyny in gaming and shit like that. Like gamer culture.
Looked it up real quick.
And a lot of those atheist debate bros took a hard right turn around that time and started going really deep into like pretty incel and kind of hateful ideology against women, and then also more broadly Muslims started to get, you know, like they started, even though they were atheists, they were like, well, okay, I'm an atheist, but Islam is worse than Christianity, you know, like they kind of leaned into this like very anti-Muslim, and that's what Sam Harris definitely kind of blew up on, is he leaned into that in a way that people, it was probably just as hateful as a lot of the other guys, but he cloaked it in much more like intellectual language that really popularized him with a fairly right-wing but not Christian audience. Although I think even Christians started to kind of like him because he was going so hard on the Muslims. But he's definitely kind of a fading star, so I haven't heard of him in a few years. So that's why I thought I saved this video when it popped up on my feed. This is recent, right? Yeah, okay, February 7th. I was gonna say this isn't from like a few years ago. Sometimes I miss that, but I thought I would want to give this a listen because, especially after that Joe Rogan podcast, Peterson seems to have taken a hard Christian turn. I mean, he was talking about how the Bible was the first book and every other book has been a ripoff of the Bible, which is like just kind of provably not true. Like, We
Well,
have
books
like,
are everything, so every
but
book's
true,
every
yeah.
book.
So you can't even really tell. You know, who can tell? It's probably the first book. But yeah, so we'll see what's going on here. Let's get a vibe check real quick.
You need to value certain things in order to get any facts in hand in the first place. I mean, any
This is just
statement.
like the intro.
How our developing understanding of ourselves and the world is changing our sense of how we should live. His books include The End of Faith, The Moral Landscape, Free Will, Lying, and Waking Up.
I'd like you to
Sam hosts provided a container for the discussion.
Hold on. Oh, this is putting me to sleep. I need to find a. Is there any part of this that interests me? Evidence and logic is ought. The ecological approach to visual perception. Jesus Christ. Come relax, guys.
Tone it down.
There we go. Right.
So
What
I asked her
topic?
today.
Ah,
She's also been talking to Jonathan Pajot, who's an extraordinarily interesting religious thinker who carves icons. He's
Can you
a
hear
former French-Canadian young guy. He's very, very deep person in my estimation.
Oh, it's on these maps too. I
In
love
any
these
case,
maps.
she's been praying the rosary, and I said,
Oh,
okay,
this
so
map I
well, you do
think
that
I-
and you listen to Sam's
yeah, I
meditation.
think I know this map.
And so how does that work? And she says, well, I do the rosary first. I said, well, why do you do that, and what do you do, and how do you see them related? And she said, well, with the rosary, so she's concentrating on Mary, and she said Mary's as a conduit to Christ, and I'll explain what she meant by that in a sec. But she said, well, first it's a practice. Okay, so she does it every day. So it's an embodied practice, right? So she says the words and she moves these beads. And so she's moving her hands. And it's divided into 5 sections. And so when her attention wanders from prayer, it's brought back because there's 5 sections, right? So you imagine you have this tendency to wander off into the default network, but by manipulating something with your hands, it ties you to the present moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a meditative practice
spinner.
that's more embodied than just sitting still, say, and she finds that useful. And
That's
she
actually
says
kind of
the words,
profound, bro.
right?
I think rosaries were the original like fidget toys.
Oh, really?
Kinda.
Yeah.
You know, it was like a thing. If you're having anxiety, you know, you use your little rosary, you pray, and nowadays
better.
in our demonic atheist society, now it's just spin a little top in your hand, you'll feel better. Just kidding.
We've talked a lot about what these words mean.
Pretty much what it is.
Yeah. I'll flip if he makes that connection too. Kind of like fidget spinners. The kids
Kind of like fish.
And so, in reference to the Starry Night, for example, there's this series of Renaissance paintings which are quite magnificent that show an image of Mary with 12 stars around her head,
Man, we're getting clapped now.
and with her foot on a serpent, and that's an allusion to the Garden of Eden because, Eve crushes the serpent beneath her foot, and so. And this is relevant to your discussion and our discussion earlier about the deepest of all evils, right? Because that's a concern of yours. It's been a concern of mine. What's the darkest possible place? Well, that snake in those paintings represents that. And that's why in Christianity, the snake, which is a predator, is associated with Satan, right? As what would you say, the emissary of evil or malevolent, something like that. And so because Mary has her head in the stars, she can have her foot on the serpent. And that's part of that meditation. And well, she does that before she listens to your meditation. But that's where I see the psychological link, let's say, because you want to put your psyche in the highest possible place, whatever that is. And we don't know what it is exactly, but it's
now that I'm used to
something like what happens when you look up at the night sky. It's something like that. And if you do that, that means that your foot is simultaneously on that serpent.
Yeah, no, I don't have any.
You look up at the stars, your foot is on the serpent.
She's
of
using the app and
chaos.
getting some benefit from it. I love that. And there's no, and the juxtaposition of doing the rosary with doing what I'm recommending in the app is not as odd as you might think it is in my view. I mean, I have
challenges for the pistol through this game type.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much.
I just got all 3 of them.
Of
I'm down to keep playing.
there's so much there's so much resonance between what I think is true and the kinds of
play like
things
another round of this,
Jesus
maybe go to
said,
regular SWAT.
right? My issue with organized religion, every organized religion, is just that clearly what we're really talking about are deeper.
I guess I don't know if blatantly it's been talked about, but like what are you atheist or any sort of agnostic, or I guess what are you?
I do not consider myself atheist. Like I believe that beliefs are real. You know, like I think that the thing that makes humans unique among animals is that we tap into this like unreality. We can tap into this like imagined world that animals can't really tap into as much, you know. And oh, you're in game chat, by the way. I don't know. I just saw your mic pop up on the side. You've been in game chat.
I just muted my mic. I have my headphones plugged right now on the TV.
But yeah, no. So like, I believe that like there are billions of people who believe in like these Abrahamic religions. They're all kind of the same. I mean, Islam and Christianity and even Judaism is all very, very similar, and they all kind of believe the same things. Just slightly different branding with them. You know,
that's why I mean
prophets, who's, and all that. But
that's also why I'm never going to really have an issue with another religion if they don't believe what I believe in, because it's just a set of beliefs that are different from mine, categorized in different ways. But
yeah,
I don't think I'd go atheist either. I'm not going to say that I believe in the God that the most people tend to. But it's not like I'm just like, oh yeah, I believe in there's some higher being out there. I just, I think the beliefs are almost that higher being that allow us to create these more or less false realities that, help us put things into like actualization. Because it's hard, some things are just so hard to believe that you're like, you gotta just hope that there's some higher being that's allowing it to happen. I don't know, but.
Well, the way I'll put it is like, I believe that people believe that there's a God, and they oftentimes act with that belief in mind, which means, on some level, like, that God's will that they believe in is being put into my very measurable, very physical reality. So like, what's the fucking difference if it's like, if it's real or not? Like, that's, I just think,
yeah, that's fair.
I think that we don't really give enough respect to our like immaterial experience that we all have. Like, we all exist in both like the physical world that we all can measure and like see each other and all that, but we also have our like, it's both shared and independent. Like, we each have our own, but it's also kind of all the same space that we go into, that we have our mind in, that we have our thoughts in, our dreams, our imagination. Another simple way I can explain it is like, I thought about this like walking around Boston one day. Like, all the buildings that I was surrounded by, like, those started in someone's head. They like, they imagined it.
Yeah.
And it was like they put it on paper and then they put it in the world. And like, so to me, that metaphysical space, that non-physical space should get a little more respect and be treated not the same as the material world, because they're very different. But like, I think a lot of our problems that we have, especially like mental health in this country, shit like that in the world really, is a result of people not really fully understanding that we do have this dual experience, and like definitely not being given the tools to navigate that non-physical experience in a healthy way.
Right.
Tied the leader. Lost the lead. Tied the leader.
But yeah, no, I've definitely I've given that spiel a few times on stream. It comes up a lot. I feel like I'm practiced at it now. That was pretty concise.
Yeah, you were. You knew where you were going with it.
Yeah. I don't know what. There's not really.
Tie the leader.
I feel like there's a lot of
Lost the
discourse
lead.
around a lot of the stuff
Tie
I
the
just said,
leader.
but I don't think there's like a banner that anyone really has for
Gain
that
the
kind
lead.
of take.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's the way you did put it's pretty unique. It makes a lot of sense, but it almost doesn't seem like you're answering the question, but you are kind of.
Well, yeah. So I mean, I guess I think the answer to the question that I mean, maybe you were kind of itching towards is that I am definitely also because I believe that a lot of this stuff is real. I think Christians probably pose the greatest threat to the American experience of anyone. I'm definitely. I think you could take everything I just said and interpret that as like I'm actually pro-Christian, but I'm not at all.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Yeah. I think their God and their belief is very dangerous to the things that I value in not only just America, but you know, society and because I live in America.
Right. Damn it.
Gain the lead.
Oh, give me one shot. Give me one shot. Give me. Oh,
Kingslayer.
that was fucking filthy, mate.
I do think it's important to be like upfront with one's beliefs too, and that's always something that kind of bothered me with Jordan Peterson, is that I could, you know, from the moment I started to kind of question him a little, I could tell he was kind of doing the Christian thing.
Yeah.
And he always was very like shifty about it. Like, literally what he would say is like, I operate as though the Christian God is real, however, I do not believe. Or something like, you know, along those lines. But it seems like, given the Joe Rogan conversation and given what it seems like they're getting into right now, I think he has now at least come out as, yeah, no, I'm definitely a Christian, and I'm going to be spreading those kind of views.
But it doesn't.
I totally lost the plot on this.
Yep. I'm kind of with you.
Yeah, this is boring.
I will also say, for me, it's hard to like take in a lot of the content when I'm focusing on.
Yeah, no, me too. Especially something that like they're throwing out all the words.
Yeah, it's just a lot of yeah.
I don't know. Do I do one more thing here? Yeesh. Song by Jordan B. Peterson, Wake Up. No. Wake up. Everybody. Please wake up. What? What is this, dude? What is...
You so alone, you should be doing so. You could have built a home, but now you're on your own. You should be acting well. You should climb off your throne and see what you've been shown. You might think this is hell.
What the fuck am I watching, dude? What is this, dude? What the actual fuck is this? I'm disturbed. What is she smoking? Oh no, it's a chalk? No, that's smoking. What the
I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to turn.
Composition, Jordan B. Peterson and Scutch Tully. Arrangement and mixing, Scutch Tully. Lyrics, Jordan B. Peterson. Voices, Sonia Tully, Tammy Peterson, Scutch Tully, and Jordan B. Peterson. I don't, dude, I feel like I'm not doing this justice right now because I'm just actually so fucking shook by what's happening. But I feel like I'm new on this, bro. This just came out like what, like 20 hours ago it said? What the I'm usually late to this shit. Like I see people reacting to it on Twitter first and then I check it out. But this is, I'm unprepared. I feel like I should be saying something. Who do I report this to? Who's the proper authority? The X-Files? I hit up Spooky Mulder, bro. I want to say something funny. I want to say something serious. And I just don't. I have nothing to say. I got nothing on that. The last thing I expected to see in my sub feed today. Truer words. Compassion. Oh my God. Wake up. Wake up. So. It's like Pink Floyd, bro. Like, see, what is I don't know, bro. This is too weird. I actually am kind of just fucking shook right now, to be honest, more than anything. Wow. Oh, that was him. I heard him. Hold on. Ah. You should be what? Ah. Bloody be waking up, you should. You should be acting well. You should clean up your room. Ah. Wake up, wake up. Wow, 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 wow. Well, that's gonna be everywhere very shortly. That's I'm too high for that right now. I can't deal with that emotionally. Wow. I don't even, I mean, what do I do? What do I even do with that after, you know? I was, well, Blarfingar, you know? Blarfingar. That's where I'm at. Yeah. 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 I've been going almost 4 hours. I'm gonna call it. I gotta leave it there, right? I mean, what the fuck else? What else we got after that? Hot damn. All right, peace out, yo.